All right. Good morning, everyone. Today is March the 14th, 2021. We're going to get right into it today. It's been a long week, so I'm going to start off with the top of the podcast. We have a pretty good, I think, uh, conversational piece of work here to talk about. We're going to talk about the crisis border issue that's going on. And yes, for everyone's, you know, saying that there's no crisis border, we actually have a crisis at the border. So, getting to it, we're going to start off here. Going to start off with a NBC News report that happened here last night. All the major news networks that periodically do not cover issues with the Democratic Party, especially with our President Joe Biden, have actually all jumped on top of this seamlessly enough. Uh, they're reporting that the issue at the border is becoming an actual bigger mess than what it was originally intended to be. They announced last night that there's about 32 undocumented migrant immigrant children at the Border Control custody. Um, Nearly half of them have been held beyond the 3-day legal limit in cells designed for children. That's from NBC and MSNBC. Now, uh, I have a question here. Wasn't this same issue brung up here 4 years ago or longer, uh, when it came to the same issue with the Trump administration about how they were keeping kids in cages? Wasn't that a big issue? We've seen all these big Hollywood movie stars, um, Tom Hanks, J Lo, uh, tons and tons of people coming out of the woodwork about how the Trump administration was keeping small children in cages like dogs, and how it was just so terrible. Well, now we have the same cages again, but this time the Biden administration is claiming, well, we have colorful designs, butterflies on the walls. Folks, they're keeping them in the same location in the same makeup. You know what they are? They're tractor truck trailers. Uh, they put some windows with some bars and some caging over them, and on the inside of these tractor truck trailers, uh, they put pictures up, butterflies, animals, whatever. Okay, it's the same thing that I slept in when I was in Iraq as a soldier for a year. They take a semi truck trailer, they cut it in two, they add a door onto it and a wall, they cut a window in, and you might have some AC in there, you may not. There you go. That's what people are sleeping in on top of each other. Uh, that's what it is. I know. I lived it for a year when I was in Iraq. That's what we use as our chews, our sleeping quarters. It's the same thing at the border. So my whole argument is with this. So what was bad under the Trump administration is somehow different under the Biden administration. And the bad thing is, this all started under the Obama administration. They built those things. They're still down there. So nothing has changed. I find this very interesting. President Biden announced it was his priority to offer citizenship here the other day to 11 million undocumented immigrants. That was in Politico here on the 11th. Um, Folks, I can't stress this to people enough. I have nothing against people coming into this country to gain citizenship. To gain citizenship legally. Just handing someone citizenship or a road to citizenship because they came here illegally or they've been here living illegally, no. That's not the American way. That's nowhere close to the American way. Out of all these people that's undocumented, I want to know, and this is just my personal look at this, and I'm sure there's lots of Americans uh, that are asking the same question. Out of all of these illegal immigrants that are here illegally, how many of these people have had thorough background checks? How many of these people are not convicts, murderers, have some kind of a criminal background or a criminal record against them? I mean, how many backgrounds have we done to actually verify these people? You can't tell me they have verified all these people that the government has. I worked for the government for 8 long years. Did tour in Iraq for a year, and I'm going to tell you right now, if we had a problem vetting Iraqi soldiers that were sleep cell soldiers that turned on us while we were training, and they were supposedly vetted too, you're telling me 11 million undocumented individuals have been vetted here in the United States. They're full of it, folks. Full of it. There's no way. So it begs the question again, is the government or the Biden presidency, his administration, I want to know how they're going to do this. Well, I can tell you how they're going to do it. They're not going to do anything. They're going to let these people pour in, and it's going to be the taxpayers that's going to be paying for this. They've already seen surges in Texas, Arizona, California, people breaking into people's homes, stealing things, assaults. It's not just the whole Asian assault thing going on right now. There's a lot of crime going on right now. There's a lot of drug trafficking coming in. There's now the drug cartels out in Mexico aren't even doing the drug smuggling. Now it's more lucrative for them to start doing basically smuggling of people now, especially sex trafficking. That's up right now. I never thought the United States, at least I never thought I would grow to see the United States become one of the top leading countries for drug trafficking and for sex trafficking, human sex trafficking. But apparently we're going to be under the Joe Biden administration. And that's not me attacking the Democrats here. That's me looking at a fact here. They've done nothing. Nothing. There's nothing to back these people with. So this was in the Washington Post, adding more fuel to this debate that there is a actual big issue brewing at the border. More than 8,500 migrant teens and children who cross the border without their parents are being housed by the Department of Health and Human Resources shelters as they are being tried to be placed and vented by sponsors. Nearly 3,500 were stuck at the Border Patrol stations waiting for beds at these shelters. The highest figure ever quoted by the Washington Post. The outlet also noted that the largest number of children held in the search facilities under the Trump administration was only 2,600, and that was in June of 2019. Wow. So everyone was complaining that President Trump did a bad job on border control. We put up a fence. That's what he was having this paid for by the government. And, I find it funny that all those caravans that was first arrived there under the Trump administration, what happened to them? They were all sent back. A lot of them was placed in Mexico. I wonder why. Because we built a wall. Remember the whole debate with the Democrats, walls don't work? But yet, what do we have right now in Washington, D.C.? We've got fences up and walls. Now, according to them, that's for security for the state house, well, for the House and the Senate and the White House because of the riot that took place at the Capitol building. I don't buy that one bit. And it's still up. National Guard is still there. So for this debate that walls don't work, it sure did work under the Trump administration. We just have an administration right now that doesn't want to get off their ass and do anything. That's just the fact of what it is. Let's see here. Department of Homeland Security projects that at least 117,000 unaccompanied migrant children will illegally enter the country this year alone. Folks, that's double and triple of what it was here just a year ago. So I think there's a big problem at the border that's not getting addressed, or it's not getting enough coverage to be addressed. And again, you have the Biden administration, they're just sleeping on it. And that's no pun intended. They won't even say that there's a problem. I mean, for crying out loud, here last week, Joe Biden, with his one trip that he made to a hardware store, was asked by someone off the street, "Sir, there's a problem at the border. Are you going to address this?" He walked away. His handlers wouldn't allow anyone to answer any questions. We're 57 days into his presidency, and this man has yet to answer any questions. This goes back to my debate here last week with the whole video with him, where they cut off the live feed during the Democratic Party video conference when he went to take questions. 57 days in, and this president still has not answered any questions. He refuses to. And I know a lot of people are like, wow, you're really dogging on the president. How could you not? This man is asleep at the wheel. You know what this says to our enemies? This says that we have a sleeping president. Just come in and do whatever you want. I'm sorry. When other countries see weakness, they're going to pounce on it. And it's going to happen. You mark my words. If he lasts 4 years with his whole entire term, I'll be surprised. But I don't see anything good coming out of this man. I'm sorry. Speaking of things that are not good coming from the Joe Biden administration, we're still going to talk about the problem at the border, but this just adds fuel to the fire. The Medicare for all debate. Now they're adding in our taxpayers' money for free health care for illegal immigrants. Here's a good one. Again, this came out of Judicial Watch. It says the Department of Justice told the Supreme Court it will no longer defend the Trump administration rule that made it more difficult for immigrants to attain permanent residency if they were likely to need benefits such as Medicare, food stamps, and federal housing aid assistance. The move is the latest of a series of decisions by the DOJ to drop positions taken by the department during the Trump presidency administration. Judicial Watch also reports that $125 million for Medicare that isn't supposed to be provided for illegal immigrants or incarcerated criminals has increased. During the recent 2-year period, U.S. taxpayers have spent $92 million for Medicare costs for 2,600 illegal aliens and $34 million to treat 1,200 prisoners who already get their health care needs met by the states, according to separate federal audits. The fleecing was the first reported a few days ago by weekly publication that covers the healthcare industry. That's a lot of money, folks, for illegal immigrants coming into this country. And now they're wanting to make it to where, again, the taxpayers are going to be floating the bill for this. I don't know about you. I am no how a rich man. I work for what little I do have. Yes, I do have a nice house that, again, I work for. I'm sure most American families here work very hard for what they have. Um, most of us have a hard time paying our own health premiums. And now we're supposed to also help pay for Medicare for all. Speaking of Medicare for all, when this was brung up by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, uh, would you like to know what the total cost is for that? This is what the cost is going to be for this. Um, 52 trillion. 52 trillion. That was also came out of a Judicial Watch article from the other day. This comes back here when Warren was running for the presidency for the Democratic nomination. She stated that the Medicare for all, as she put it together, covers everyone, regardless of immigration status. She was quoted on saying that her plan would cost 52 trillion, and that's the makeup about right now what this is going to cost everybody across the country. 52 trillion. I'm sorry, I said million. It's trillion. 52 trillion. Did you know that we just did with the whole coronavirus pandemic, we've just spent, and this year alone, 2020 and the first fiscal part of 2021, over $6 trillion has been added to our deficit. 6 trillion, and these people want to put 52 trillion on this. Does everyone know that right now we're about, I believe, capped right now at about 24 to 26 trillion on the national deficit? You do know we're past the threshold of going back to being able to take care of that debt. We're way past that now. So congratulations, America. We're screwed on that part because there isn't no going back. But my whole fight is, though, when is enough enough? Because what's going to happen is once you beat and hit a certain number and you go past our GDP growth, you know what happens. Everything starts to fail economically. The dollar becomes dirt. It's not worth anything. It'll be worth nothing. It'll be like during the Depression era, where you find a dollar on the ground and people pick up that dollar to look underneath it to see if they can see silver or gold, because the dollar wasn't worth anything. That's what's going to end up happening to the dollar. They're going to devalue it so badly, it's going to be worth nothing. And then you've got the rating for our country. That's going to go down. It's going to go down again. We're going to devalue the dollar until there's nothing left. So I hope everyone's ready for that one. I mean, I would be seriously, when 2022 and 2024 come around, I'm not telling you to push Republican, but I'm telling everybody, start looking at policies, folks. Quit looking at the individuals in the party. The individuals in the parties, because both of them suck. You're looking at the wrong thing. People need to start looking at policies, not the individual or the party. I stress that so badly with people. Same thing with these things that are passing, these bills that are passing in the Senate and the House. Start calling your local politicians for your state. They represent you. Make their phones ring off the hook. We've got some really, really big things coming up in the Senate and in the House. We have another gun control reform bill. I'm pro-gun. I mean, I own my own weapons as well. But I'm telling you, this stuff about closing loopholes. We already have background checks. They're already there. They're in place for a reason. I'm telling you, folks, they're coming for your Second Amendment. That's next. It's just like the government with healthcare. You see what's going on. Everyone said under the Obamacare Act, now they're trying to make things. No, it was the government seizing your healthcare. And look what we got. Shit. They're going to do the same thing with your Second Amendment. They're going to squash it. Start calling your politicians. Start getting involved. Same thing with schools and education. Start getting involved on the local levels. You start on the local levels and work your way up to the state, and then you progress out. That's how you change things. But you got to start making phone calls. People have got to start waking up here. You got to start paying attention, America. You have to. Same thing if you're one of these states that borders the border down there. Start calling your politicians. Start getting in line. Start fighting back. So I've raised some good topics here today. I wanted to get everyone's feedback on these topics. Feel free to chime in. I like to hear both sides of the debate. I know I kind of, stomped into the Democratic Party today in the Biden administration. Again, I am partial, but it's very hard for me to stay down the center when I see the country under one party going to hell in a handbasket. So please chime in. I love to hear feedback from people, even if it's something I don't agree with. I love reading it. I will try to respond to everybody. I hope everyone enjoys this podcast, but please chime in. Everyone have a good Sunday, and we will see you next week.